Welcome back. I'm Dr. Cheek and I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, and today is another installment of We Need to Talk. And just a reminder, We Need to Talk is simply videos that I do focused on me giving therapeutic advice from the stance of a psychologist. So it's going to be professional advice from a psychologist, but I advise you to take this advice the same way you would take advice from anyone who doesn't know you personally or any talking head on the internet. And I'll let you do with that as you wish. So again, here's another installment of We Need to Talk. And what we need to talk about today is, how do we agree to disagree? How do we agree to disagree without being disagreeable or rude or mean or disrespectful? How do we learn how to respectfully disagree with someone? That's what we're going to talk about. And I feel like it's necessary for us to talk about because in this current climate of, we seem to have this thought process of either you're with me or you're against me. And we take this philosophy meaning that if either you agree with me wholeheartedly or if you disagree with me in any way, we can't be friends. We can't maintain any connection. However, we can disagree and still have a cordial and a loving relationship. It's possible. And I think for some of us, the idea of wanting someone that constantly is always on our side, constantly is always agreeing with what we're saying, it's the idea that we feel like we are okay if we live in an echo chamber. And existing in an echo chamber is not healthy. Existing in an environment where everyone thinks the same, everyone feels the same, everyone reacts to situations the same way, it doesn't give you any opportunity for growth. So we can exist in this world where either you're with me or against me. So either you agree with me, and if you disagree with me, then I need you to not be a part of my life. And we can exist in this world where we live in an echo chamber of everyone simply sounding like ourselves. And in that environment, we'll never have an opportunity for growth, because it's when we are challenged and when we are pushed outside of our comfort zone, sometimes is when we grow the most. And I know some of us have heard the metaphor before, iron sharpens iron. What that metaphor simply means is that we grow or we become stronger and we become sharper in environments that challenge us, that push us to be better, to do better, to understand on a better wavelength, to learn something new, to not feel like we have to stay stuck in our thought process or stuck in our way of seeing things, but being able to think outside the box, to get outside the box, to step outside that echo chamber and be willing to hear someone else's opinion and be willing to maybe digest or take in someone else's opinion. And I want to caveat this. And I'm going to caveat this by saying we all know people that we can have a healthy debate with, a healthy discussion with, agree to disagree with, or have a disagreement and it not cause a disruption. I am talking about those individuals that you know that it's safe and it's actually helpful for you to have these challenging conversations with. I'm not talking about individuals that you know do not see you as a person, is not respectful of you as a human being, is willing to be degrading, who's willing to hurt or harm you mentally or physically for differing or having a different opinion. I am not talking about those individuals. I am talking about people who you know you can have this conversation with, and it can get a little dicey. It can get a little complicated, but it doesn't cause a rupture in your relationship. And it doesn't cause for you to have hard feelings for one another. You know that you still at the end of the day care about each other or are able to coexist. And we know those individuals that we can't coexist with. I am not willing to coexist with someone that doesn't see me as a human being. Point blank and period. It's not really a discussion there. So I'm talking about the people we're able to have these discussions with. So I'm going to caveat this agreeing to disagree, because we can agree to disagree in several instances. And there are times where we can't simply engage in a conversation because someone is not willing to see us as valued individuals with the ability to actually speak our minds. We are somehow less than, or we are devalued in everything we say. And those aren't individuals you can debate with or have a discussion with. Now, I want to first talk about some questions to ask yourself when you are having a hard time agreeing to disagree or disagreeing respectfully with someone. One question you might want to ask yourself is, am I trying to prove this person wrong in this debate or discussion, or am I trying to right fight? So when we think about that question, we have to ask ourselves, is my only stance or my inability to disagree respectfully or agree to disagree based on the fact that I want to prove to them that they're wrong, or I need to prove to them that I'm right? If you get stuck in that place, chances are you're not going to agree to disagree, because you're going to continue to look for evidence, continue to look for opinions, assumptions, or anything else that kind of proves your point. And at that point, it probably becomes a stalemate, and the two of you will just continue to bump heads, because in that moment, neither one of you are willing to say, I just want to be right, and I just want you to be wrong. And sometimes we have to ask ourselves that question and say, am I just trying to right fight, or am I trying to prove this person wrong? Because if I'm not, then I can simply say, I still don't agree with you. Those are your points. Those points are valid based off of what you're dealing with, but we can still agree to disagree. And this doesn't have to continue to be a conversation, because we're not going to agree. So that's the first question. Second question you should ask yourself is, what do I gain by getting this person to agree with me? Or on the other hand, what is something that I lose by agreeing with this person, or letting this person know that they have valid points, or the statement that they're making makes sense? What do I gain by getting this person to agree with me? What do I lose by agreeing with this person? Is this even something that I disagree with? Or am I so stuck in where I'm at right now and wanting to prove my point that I'm not willing to give an inch? I'm not willing to see it from another person's perspective. I'm not willing to actually hear them out, because what I lose is I lose my pride. I lose this ego stance, or this pride stance that I have to say that, yeah, I still don't agree with you, and what you're saying is wrong. Or do I gain the ability to say, my thoughts are better than yours, I was right? Am I gaining that? Am I gaining the ability to one up a person by having them agree with me? Or am I kind of losing myself by agreeing with them? So I'm going to stick to my arguments, because either way, I either gain something or I lose something. And we need to ask ourselves, what am I gaining or I'm losing? Now, the third question is, does this person or their thoughts cause any level of immediate danger or harm to me or my loved ones? And if the answer to that question is yes, then I'm going to ask that you do what you need to do to protect yourself or your loved ones from danger, or to protect them from any threat that may be present. And a part of that may be contacting the authorities. If you feel like somebody's thoughts, their assumptions, or their stance on certain things poses some level of threat to you and your loved ones, do what you need to do to protect yourself and your loved ones. And even if that means contacting the appropriate authorities, contact the appropriate authorities. At the end of the day, maintain your safety. And the last question you might want to ask yourself is, what is the goal of this conversation or this debate? Are you wanting a consensus from this discussion or debate? Do you want everyone to agree or everyone to disagree the same? Or are you simply wanting to debate? Ask yourself that question, because some of us simply sometimes enjoy debating. We aren't really looking for an agreement. We're not really looking for a consensus. We're not really looking for us to see eye to eye. We just feel like we want to debate our points and our opinions with someone else and see if they have the same points and opinions. And I want us to be really mindful that when we agree to disagree, 9 times out of 10, what we are agreeing to disagree on are opinions or our assumptions about something. Facts aren't typically things you debate. Facts are what you bring to a debate to support your argument. But we typically don't debate facts. We debate our arguments that we have based on those facts. So is your opinion or your argument based on the facts is what you're debating. Most of the time, we're not debating facts. We are debating our opinions, our assumptions, or our thoughts about a fact. And those can be something that's debated. So in those times, when you're wanting to debate, are you debating to come to a consensus, or are you simply debating to debate? Ask yourself that question, and that can give you an idea as to why there is not a consensus, why you may be struggling to agree to disagree or respectfully disagree with someone, because you may be trying to win the debate at that point, or you may be trying to get a mutual understanding between the two of you that may not be possible. Now, there are some pitfalls you can avoid when you're having these discussions or these debates that can keep you from getting to a place where a disagreement becomes an argument, or becomes a yelling match, or becomes a situation that causes some type of damage to your relationship with someone. First thing to avoid is attempting to win the discussion by being harsh, hurtful, or rude, or name calling or insulting. When we get to a place where we start to insult others, we are name calling, we, in most cases, have lost the argument. And that discussion in that moment, or the conversation in that moment, has devolved into probably an argument or a yelling match. And we really don't win disagreements by insulting or being mean or being rude to someone else. So if you can, as much as you can, avoid getting to a place where you feel like you want to insult someone or name call or degrade someone in some way, because then you're no longer debating, you're no longer having a discussion. Now the opportunity to agree respectfully has passed. past, because now we've gone to a place where we're being disrespectful or degrading to one another. So as much as you can, try to avoid that. Another thing you want to avoid is closing your mind to the likelihood that you are wrong, that you may be incorrect, or even closing your mind to the possibility that someone else is correct, someone else has more valid points, have more logical points. As much as you can, be open-minded to the concept that you may be incorrect, or your assumptions about a fact or your opinion about a fact is not the appropriate stance, is not the correct stance, is not taking into account all aspects of a situation. We all have different experiences. We all come from different backgrounds. We all have different things that gives credence or gives information to how we see a situation. So being willing to hear someone else out gives you the ability to say, oh, maybe there is something I missed. Maybe there is something I can learn from this. Maybe I'm not solely the person that's in the right in this moment. So closing your mind is one of those pitfalls you want to avoid. Being closed-minded to their arguments, being closed-minded to the possibility that you may be wrong and they may be right is one of those pitfalls you want to avoid. Now, lastly, what you want to avoid is, unless it's personal, don't take it personal. Now, I know that sounds crazy, right? In this world where it's me, 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 how can I not take this discussion personal? Well, if it's not personal, then don't take it personally. We tend to take things personally that someone is talking about some vague situation, some vague conversation that is not directed towards you, that does not include you in any way. We sometimes take that personally. And sometimes when you're having a discussion or debate with someone, if the topic is not pertaining to you personally, then don't take it personally. And I know this is crazy, but not every debate, not every discussion, not every conversation is about you. I know it's crazy. It's a hard concept to wrap our minds around sometimes, but that is the case. Now, if it feels like it is personal, be direct. Ask the question. You can ask that question jokingly. You can say, oh my God, I feel hit. Are you taking shots at me right now? What's happening? Is this about me? I feel hit. Like, hold on. I'm sorry. That feels a little bit like you trying to say something about me. Is that me? You hitting me in this moment? Is this about me? Jokingly, you can say that, or you can be serious. Like seriously and say, the statements that you're making right now makes me feel like you're saying something about me personally. This feels like a personal attack. Is this something that's personally meant for me? Have that conversation seriously, directly have that conversation, or jokingly have that conversation. And just to give you an example of what this may look like, let's say your spouse comes home and they're having a difficult day at work and they're making a complaint about a coworker that sounds similar possibly to a complaint that they've had about you before. And in that moment, you're feeling like they're indirectly talking about you. So while they're trying to have a conversation about their hard day at work, you are over here having an entire debate because you feel like this has turned into an argument because now you feel like they are talking about you indirectly. So now you're taking whatever they're talking about this work situation personally, and you're not even hearing them out anymore because now you're upset that they're talking about you indirectly. So to avoid that, be willing to know if it's actually personally about you. Because if you take a step back and see that it's not personally about you and you still disagree with the points that they're making, you can say, yeah, you have some valid points. I can see why you're upset about that, but I still disagree. Or I feel like you're talking to me. We've had this conversation about me before, about things you felt about me before. Is this about me? Be willing to have those conversations. Be willing to avoid these pitfalls. There are questions you can ask yourself. There are pitfalls you can avoid if you want to be able to respectfully disagree in this opinion-driven world that we're in, where everyone feels the need to share their opinions. Everyone feels the need to talk about how they're feeling and what they're thinking and what assumptions that they're making. We need to learn how to disagree and be okay with others disagreeing with us. We need to be able to be in an environment that doesn't exist in an echo chamber. We need to be able to be in rooms with individuals that don't always agree with us. And I know in the world of this internet, you can find any group or any cluster or individuals that would be an echo chamber for you, and they could be complete strangers and you feel validated because they are agreeing with everything you say and you feel like someone finally understands you. And I want to challenge you in this moment to push past that desire to always feel like you're the smartest person in the room, or always feel like you have the answers and everyone is always agreeing with you. And because you place yourself in environments where these are echo chambers, where everyone in that environment will agree with you because they already have the same opinion that you have. So I challenge you to step outside that comfort zone. I challenge you to be able to start to have conversations with individuals that may not not share the same opinion that you have about certain situations, certain information, just being able to hear a differing point of view. And in hearing that different point of view, the goal is not to always change your mind. The goal is not always to change their mind. The goal sometimes is simply to allow yourself to learn information from a different perspective, to get insight from someone else, to have someone challenge your thoughts, your beliefs, your opinions in a way that may help you challenge yourself to become a better version of yourself. Again, like I said earlier, when we exist in the echo chamber, we don't have that space or that opportunity to challenge ourselves past what we're thinking, what we feel comfortable with in that moment. So sometimes we need to step outside the echo chamber and be willing to have that discussion. And we needed to talk, because this day and age, I feel like it's a struggle for us to simply disagree respectfully, or agree to disagree, or simply say, you have some valid points, but I still don't agree with that. I can tell you why I don't agree with that, or we can simply agree to disagree in this moment. As always, again, I hope you take something from this video that has been helpful, that has been informative, that gives you some insight into why I would want to step outside of my comfort zone or my echo chamber to learn something new, or to listen to somebody that doesn't agree with my point of view. I hope you've learned that today as to why it can be helpful, and I hope you learn ways to actually avoid the pitfalls. Feel free to jot down any thoughts, questions, or comments you have below. As always, I thank you for taking the time to listen, and I'll be seeing you again very soon. Thank you.